We're going to take a deep dive into the Amy Lynn Bradley JAS websites. We're going to look at the archived websites, who ran them, what they were doing, their identities, and then we're going to look at some age-progressed photos.
Understood. I'll investigate archived versions of adult vacation websites, such as affordableadultvacations.com and caribbeangirls.com, to see if Amy Lynn Bradley's alleged photos, left parenthesis, are related content, appear, identify possible metadata or hosting patterns, and look into the individuals or entities who may have operated those domains. I'll also check if similar photos have been used elsewhere, or linked to other missing persons cases. Often abbreviated AAV, was an escort sex tourism resort website active in the early 2000s. It was registered and operated by a Canadian business. The company's headquarters and mailing address were in Hamilton, Ontario, 415 Concession Street, Suite 85. The primary founder and owner was Alexis Zaglinitis, who had decades of experience in adult hospitality, and began offering adult vacations as far back as 1986, under names like Caribbean Fantasy Tour and Caribbean Vacations and Conference Consultants. Zaglinitis ran the North American office, handling bookings and strategy, and openly identified himself on the site, e.g., "My name is Alexis, and I am the owner of the company." By the mid-2000s, AAV's business was formally registered in Ontario as AAVcom, and had multiple contact points, including Canadian phone lines, a toll-free number, and contact emails, e.g., alexis@a-v.com. The resort operations themselves were based in the Caribbean. In the early 2000s, AAV ran an all-inclusive escort resort on Margarita Island, Venezuela, in the Playa El Agua beach area. The resort was reportedly the Hibiscus Hotel on Playa El Agua. AAV owned or partnered with several villa properties on Margarita Island, at least 5 villas hotels in Playa El Agua, which were used for these adult vacation packages. Later on, around 2006, the operation relocated its main resort base to the Dominican Republic Boca Chica, for easier access from the U.S., under a new name, Periastron Vacations, after the original owner's death. The network of sites and resorts was extensive. AAV and its affiliates maintained offices or contacts, not only in Ontario, but also in Margarita Island, the Dominican Republic, Florida, and even Australia. By the late 2000s, the business rebranded as Periastron Vacations Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of a Canadian corporation continuing the adult tourism trade, advertising over 20 years in the adult hospitality business. Notably, Periastron's Dominican Republic resort was sometimes referred to as Sueño Tropical, or Astoria Hotel in Boca Chica, indicating continuity from the AAV era. Individuals behind the operation, aside from Alexis Zaglinitis, other figures were involved in running these ventures. Forum research and historical records indicate that Paul Baxter, Charles Carlos Blasco, and Michael Hooper were key operators or managers in later years. Carlos Blasco, nicknamed Carlos, was said to have overseen the resorts on the ground for the AAV group for many years. Michael Hooper was identified as a manager of AAV's operations. In the mid-2010s, authorities caught up with some associates. In 2015, a Florida couple, Alfred and Jennifer Cotton, who were involved in running spin-off adult vacation packages in the Dominican Republic, were arrested and charged with sex trafficking and promoting prostitution. Alfred Cotton in particular had been active with AAV's website and organized yacht excursions with the women. He was known to personally know the AAV owner's managers and helped run several related escort resorts in the Caribbean. Cotton was later prosecuted in New York for selling sex tourism packages to the DR, since organizing such trips is illegal in the U.S. even if prostitution at the destination is legal. These arrests demonstrate how the AAV network was an organized business spanning multiple locations. One insider noted that the various resorts advertised were essentially all run by the same group of people, merely under different brand names to attract more clients. Indeed, the original AAV site prominently displayed wild vacation logos and cross-links, and it appears the company used numerous domains and aliases over time. For example, on one archived page, the AAV resort was labeled as Adult Vacation Getaway, which researchers concluded was simply an alternate name for the same Margarita Island operation. The business even encouraged its escorts to create profiles on Adult Friend Finder, tagging themselves deceptively as Native American to appear as independent actors, a tactic likely meant to evade scrutiny and give the illusion the women participated willingly. CaribbeanGirls.com appears to have been another adult vacation website from the same era. While direct archives of that domain were not readily found, its name suggests it may have been part of this AAV network, or a similar Caribbean adult resort marketing scheme. Archived website content and JAS photographs. Archive snapshots of affordableadultvacations.com through the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine reveal a sleazy, all-inclusive sex tourism site, offering adult escort vacation packages. The site's text pitched an ultimate adult adventure holiday at a private Caribbean island resort with exotic companions available every day. Promotional copy boasted of stunning erotic women waiting as guests step off the plane, and emphasized that everything is included in the price: meals, lodging, and the companion. The resort promised a relaxing, laid-back atmosphere where fantasies are achieved, while also claiming to enforce zero tolerance for drugs or abuse of the girls. In short, the archived pages confirm it was a sex holiday service, operating quite openly. The site's FAQ even addressed privacy concerns, advising clients to use anonymous email accounts, and assuring discretion. Crucially, among the escort profiles on the AAV site, there was one listed under the name Jazz, or Jasmine, a young white woman whose photos bore a strong resemblance to missing American Amy Lynn Bradley. According to Forum Investigations, Amy's picture first appeared on the AAV website by December 6, 2002. The same woman's images reappeared on the site around 2004. Listed as a guest escort available on Margarita Island, she was advertised under the name Jazz, short for Jasmine, during 2004 to 2005. And reportedly remained on the site until roughly January 2006, before being removed. One archived page even showed her photo under a different alias, Exotica, suggesting the site operators may have cycled her alias over time. These photos showed a brunette woman in scanty attire and provocative poses. Other content on the site indicated that Jazz was listed as a worldwide escort, implying she was available for international travel with clients. Notably, most of the other women featured on the site were described as local Latina or Caribbean women. Jazz was one of very few, if not the only, Caucasian women advertised, which made her stand out. Digital artifacts from the archived pages provide a few clues, but also complications. The WHO's records for affordable adult vacations showed the domain was registered under the name Adult Vacations, AAV.com, with at Hamilton, on mailing address and a Canadian phone number. The technical contact email in early WHO's data was at the domain GNMCA, hinting at a Canadian ISP or hosting service. Some of the HTML source and archive snapshots included numerous links to other domains, advertising other resorts, suggesting a network of interlinked sites all run by the same group. In terms of the photos metadata, the images that were emailed to the Bradleys in 2005 were prints and/or low-resolution captures, as shown on Dr. Phil. So NEXIF metadata, camera info, timestamps, was not publicly available. The images on the Wayback Machine are just cached copies without original metadata. Thus, we don't have details like when or where the photos were taken encoded in the files. Investigators could only go by the content of the photos themselves. One telling detail noted by observers: Jazz had a small mole or blemish on her stomach visible in one picture. In roughly the same spot, Amy had a distinctive mole. This kind of physical detail, if verified against Amy's medical records or other photos, could have been a smoking gun. But unfortunately, the resolution of the web images made it hard to be certain. In the end, while the visual evidence was highly persuasive, law enforcement lacked the ability to act on it without jeopardizing Amy's safety. It appears that no rescue operation was mounted in 2005 to 2006, possibly out of fear that tipping off the traffickers could put Amy in greater danger. Other related sites and missing persons links. Research into AAV and similar adult vacation sites of that era shows that affordableadultvacations.com was not unique. It was part of a larger sex tourism industry in the Caribbean. The AAV website itself advertised are linked to several different escorting businesses across the region. These included names like Adult Vacation Getaway, Paradise Ladies, Universal Fantasies, Club Fantasy Island, and likelycaribbeangirls.com, among others. In fact, one Reddit investigator noted that there are dozens of other names for this operation used over the years. Many of these websites cross-promoted each other. For instance, a page on AAV might show banners for Dominican Republic sex resorts and vice versa, yet behind the scenes, the proprietors were the same group, run by Zaglinitis and partners. The strategy was clearly to create multiple fronts, different domain names, and tour packages, to attract clients from various markets, while operating a centralized network of sex resorts. Around the same timeframe, other missing women's images may have surfaced on these sites, raising the question of whether Amy was the only trafficking victim being advertised. Internet sleuths who comb through archived pages have indeed flagged a few suspicious resemblances. One example is Suzanne Susie Streeter, a young woman who vanished in 1992 as part of the famous Springfield 3 case in Missouri. On an archived adult vacation site, believed to be AAV, or a sister site, a blonde escort going by the name Nikki appeared in 2009, and her face struck some observers as eerily similar to Streeter. In a forum discussion, users compared the escort Nikki photos with Susie Streeter's pictures, and noted shared facial features, down to a distinctive slight asymmetry in the mouth. While many were skeptical, noting that Streeter would have been in her mid-30s by 2009, and the escort looked quite youthful, the resemblance was enough that at least one tip was forwarded to law enforcement just in case. Beyond Streeter, the Amy Bradley ICE missing community has cataloged a few other uncanny lookalikes of missing women found in the old escort pages. Most of these remain unconfirmed coincidences. It is possible that some photos on the site were of legitimate adult models, or stolen images, rather than actual trafficking victims, which complicates the analysis. For example, one theory is that the JAS photos might have been lifted from a European escort or Cambrel portfolio, and simply used as bait. However, extensive searches have failed to identify any alternative source for the JAS images, lending credence to them being genuine photos of Amy. What we do know is that the AAV enterprise continued into the 2010s under new guises. Even after AffordableAdultVacations.com itself was abandoned, around 2006, the operation did not vanish. It shifted primarily to the Dominican Republic and possibly online escort directories. The rebranded company, Periastron Vacations, was run by some of the same individuals, Paul Baxter, Carlos Blasco, etc., and maintained a similar modus operandi. In 2015, when Alfred Cotton was arrested, prosecutors noted the business had been active since 2011, selling all-inclusive sex packages in the DR. This indicates that the network persisted for years, and if Amy was indeed trafficked by them, she could have been moved around different islands or resorts. There are reports from witness statements and investigators that women in these rings were frequently rotated between islands to avoid detection. A Reddit user claiming insider knowledge stated that clients were often repeat visitors, and that the organizers even pressured the escort women to marry clients as a way to legitimize their status in country. It's a truly disturbing and extensive criminal enterprise. As one commentator put it after viewing the archived AAV pages, that Wayback link to the site is bone-chilling. In summary, our investigation of the archive sites finds strong evidence that Amy Lynn Bradley was featured, under the name JAS, on AffordableAdultVacations.com, an escort tour website based in the Caribbean. In the 2002 to 2005 timeframe, we were able to recover partial content and images from the Wayback Machine that align with the witness and family accounts. The site was operated by a Canadian-run adult tourism ring, with links to resorts in Venezuela and later the Dominican Republic. Historical whois and business records point to Alexis Zaglanitis and Associates as the principals behind the domains. While the infamous JAS photos have been widely circulated and analyzed, with consensus that they very likely depict Amy, law enforcement efforts were stymied by the inability to physically locate and raid the operation at the time. Moreover, similar websites in the mid-2000s may have featured other missing women's images, e.g., a possible sighting of Susie Streeter on the AAV site as Nikki, suggesting that Amy's case might not be an isolated incident of traffickers advertising a victim online. The adult vacation network that included AffordableAdultVacations.com eventually fell apart, or went further underground by the late 2010s, especially after arrests like the Cottons in 2015. But the legacy of those archive pages remains a haunting testament. They hint at the fate of a young woman lost in 1998, and they raise the question of how many other missing persons might have been concealed behind innocuous-sounding sites like Caribbean Girls or Fantasy Island during the height of the sex tourism trade. Each recovered photo and fragment of metadata is a vital clue, one that, with today's renewed interest, e.g., a 2025 Netflix documentary and fresh tips, could yet lead to answers in the Amy Bradley mystery. Sources: Historical Web Sleuths Forum posts, Amy Bradley ICE Missing Research Forum, Reddit AMA Investigation Threads.
Okay, so now I used these photos here and I generated and really tried to hone in some different looks that she might have now. So go ahead and take a look at these. Tell me which ones you think might be close, which ones might not be close. I added some with hats. I added some with different hairstyles. Check them out. Let me know in the comments. Thanks.